Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money, with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 232 of Screw the Commute podcast. Today we're going to do how to start and run a retreat center. I've been doing this for 18 years now, and it's meant a lot of money. I've helped a heck of a load of people, and it's allowed me to have this big honking mansion and have other people pay for it. How do you like that? So maybe you could do the same thing, but you don't have to. There's loads of ways to run retreats, and I'm going to cover them in today's episode, but it's going to be a little bit different than usual. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. Hope you didn't miss episode 231. That was Rain Parvis, one of my favorite people in the world. She actually won me in a raffle a long time, 10 years ago. And she was living in her parents' garage when I found her, and I got her started. I got her to write a book, and now she's a top image consultant and up for possibly a QVC job. So she's awesome and funny and really great. Just a new mama too. So she's showing you how to run a business while you still got a brand new baby you just popped out. All right, make sure you catch a copy of our automation book. It's a $27 ebook, but it's yours free for listening to Screw the Commute. You can grab it at screwthecommute.com/automate free. And while you're over there, grab a copy of our podcast app for your cell phone or tablet. It'll do all kinds of cool things. And we got, if you're afraid of this stuff, you don't know how to do apps and this, well, we got complete instructions, including screen captures to show you how to use the thing. So you can grab that at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. All right, our sponsor is the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center. Hey, who would have thought of that for this episode? And it's a joint venture program where myself and my staff work with you for a year, including an immersion trip to the retreat center for an immersion weekend. And then you get another trip all by yourself to shoot videos in our studio. So it's a massive value, and I've been running it for 18 years. So you can check all the details out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And of course, all the things we talk about will be in the show notes at episode 232. So it's screwthecommute.com/232. Okay, let's get to the main event, how to start and run retreats. Now, this is a thing I've been doing for 18 years. And it's meant a great lifestyle and an enormous amount of money over all those years. Now, to prove to you that this is not some kind of flash-in-the-pan idea, this is where this episode is going to be a little bit different. I dug up a recording that I did on this topic 11 years ago, after I had already been operating the retreat center for 7 years. Now, let me take a little sidebar here. Would you rather learn from someone who's been doing what they're teaching you for many years, or someone who, I don't know, maybe tried it out and thought it was a good idea and decided to charge you money to teach it to you? All right, well, I think you know the answer to that. I have a vast amount of experience doing what you will learn in this podcast, and this can mean an enormous amount of money for you. And if you choose to use your house as part of the retreat, you don't have to, and I'll explain that completely in the recording, but you can have students pay for a much more substantial home with all kinds of amenities. That's pretty cool too. So let's get back to this recording I did in 2009, and everything in it is still valid except for some of the numbers, which I will pop in as Studio Tom and tell you about the changes a couple times during the podcast. Now, are you ready to get into my Screw the Commute time machine? All right, here we go. Welcome to the virtual studios of Antion Associates. I'm Tom Antion, and I'll be your host for the evening. We are broadcasting tonight, as always, from the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center, where people come in from all over the world to study internet marketing in the lap of luxury. Tonight's call is one that is very dear to my heart, because I've been doing this for so long, is how to operate a retreat center out of your home, even if you don't have a home. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. If you'd like to have training from me personally on how I make money and whether the economy is up or down, don't forget to check out my very popular mentor program at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. Now, some of you tonight are going to get tonight's call retroactively free. And I'll tell you what that means at the end of the call tonight. All right, let's roll. Let's talk about the benefits of you running retreats. Well, first of all, they can be extremely lucrative because people will pay for experiences. They will pay for special experiences, and that's part of what doing a retreat is all about. Another benefit is you can sell your expertise in smaller chunks for more money. I'll give you an example because everything around me is transparent. People come to my retreat center. They get in my year-long program. They come here, and they learn and have a great weekend. But literally, I'm only teaching them probably 1/1000th of what I know about the topic. But the experience of being here and meeting other like-minded people and seeing and hearing the ka-chings going through my computer and seeing the great things and seeing the sales figures is a very moving experience for people, so they're willing to pay for it. So a tiny chunk of what I know is sold for the maximum of amount of money by using this method. So that's another benefit of it. Now, a third benefit is you can make your hobbies legitimately tax deductible, and I'll be spending more time on that later. And, of course, part of the title of this is you can make your home and things you would buy anyway tax deductible. And, of course, some people think that using your home for business is terrible, and I know if you got a lot of kids and you're really family-oriented, it might be a little shocking to you. But I'm going to give you ways that you can use your home just a little or a lot. You get the pick. Now, just very seldom do I give any disclaimers when I do these things, but you got to know we're talking about an idea here that's extremely unique, involves an enormous amount of money if you actually purchase a home because of this idea. So, you got to get, competent legal and accounting advice. Just because I've done this for 7 years doesn't mean I know your deal inside and out, and I'm not qualified to advise you on it. I'm just going to tell you what's possible. Hi folks, it's Tom here in the studio, and I'll be popping in several times during this recording to update things for you. Now in this case, I've done well over 200 immersion weekend retreats here in Virginia Beach. All right, let's get back to the old recording. Now, what is a retreat? Well, there's lots of definitions. I went out on the internet. It's a time to stop and rest so you can go again. That was the first one I ran across. See, nobody can go full speed all the time. It just wears you out. Now, even me, as fanatic as I am, a lot of you know that I'm just totally fanatic about running this business. I find outlets. I took a trip to Washington, D.C., which was kind of a retreat because I'm a tennis nut. So I went up there, and the guy videotaped us all, high-speed video, and still to this day, that was probably 6-8 months ago, I'm using and learning and a different person because I had that high-level training. And it was great because I got to just put everything out of my mind for a while on the business and just enjoy myself a little bit. And when I come back, I've got more to offer my students because I took a little break. And I, of course, use tennis all the time now for little breaks. Another definition, somebody says it's a time to return to the basics. Another one said, this was an interesting comment, often the best way to win a war is to stop and retreat, because just rushing ahead all the time can be dangerous. Some people call a retreat a vacation. Some people call it a camp. Another interesting one is a place that offers a safe, comfortable, and supportive arena for you to take special time for reconnecting with yourself. And a similar one is a retreat's an opportunity to experience a transforming power. I want you to think of that term, transforming power, more than you can get from just taking a class or course. Because a lot of the topics we're going to discuss, you can take learning annex courses and mail order online and buy a DVD or something, but it's not the same as the transforming power of a retreat. This is pretty much is mine, a place to get away from everyday problems and immerse yourself in whatever the retreat is about. Mine is not, so spiritual or things like we'll talk about later. Mine's pretty much hardcore learn internet stuff, but you're immersed in it. You're surrounded by, me and my whole staff that are bringing in millions of dollars on the internet. You see the ka-chings, you see the bank statements, you see that it's real, and you're taught at the same time, all while you're not having to fight the everyday taking the kids to school and going to work and all the things you normally do every day. So that's what mine is all about. And kind of a little goofy, funny definition, retreats are a modern answer to modern living. And the reason that's funny is because people have been going on retreats for thousands of years. This is nothing, no kind of new idea I'm giving you. Now, part of the retreat experience is called living communally. And this is usually a very enjoyable part of the retreat experience where people enter into the spirit of friendliness and cooperation and harmony, unless, of course, everyone else at the retreats are jerks and idiots. You better check out their refund policy. But most retreats are like that. They're communal. You're in with a group of like-minded people. However, there are retreats that are totally focused on the individual, where you're meditating, you're quiet, you're by yourself most of the time. So what I want you to know is I want you to stretch your mind. There's really something for everything tonight. And there's so many possibilities with this that can start very small with almost no investment all the way up to this $2 million house that I have. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, also, you can have all male retreats, all female retreats, couples retreats, straight people, gay people, ethnic retreats. Mine, of course, is topic-oriented retreats. So there's all different directions you can go with this. The beauty of it is that every single one of these definitions, and probably any one that you can make up, is there's a market for it. You don't have to have big numbers of people to make this very lucrative. I mean, 5 people a month at a couple $1,000s a piece would probably make a lot of you on this line very, very happy. So the numbers don't have to be all that great and big to make this work. Now, why are retreats good now? Well, people are facing really tough times, and they need a break. Even in the Depression, people went for all kinds of entertainment, and they found money to do the things that gave them a break from the heaviness that was around them. But the one I like better is why it's good now is because people are looking for new things to do as professions and to make money. So people are looking for other things to do. Well, they need to reflect on their future. It's a time when they could use some direction in helping them aim the rest of their life. Now, I've been working on a distance learning school for about a year, getting it ready. We're maybe, if things go good, we're like 1 day from signing the lease on the building. Studio Tom here. The school is in full swing and has been for many years. Check it out at imtcva.org. And if you're military, /military. imtcva.org/military. And of course, it'll be in the show notes. But guess what I just saw? In the midst of all this bad news, the 3 biggest distance learning universities all had large gains in their stocks this past year. When everybody else is going down the tubes, distance learning and professions and teaching people things are going up. So this tells me I'm on the right track, and that you will be too if you help people gain insight into what they should be doing with their lives, and retreats are perfect for that. Now, a little bit of briefing on different venues for retreats. You've got the home, you've got hotels, spas, outdoors, and specialized venues. Let's take your home first. Now, in your home, any kind of topic will work that doesn't create a nuisance. Now, what's a nuisance? Well, let's say you were getting a bunch of people that were interested in archery, and you had a little half-acre lot in the suburbs. Well, the minute your neighbor comes over with a arrow sticking through his head like Steve Martin, you're out of business, all right? Now, the same thing might work fine on a 5-acre lot. So you have to just be careful that you're a good neighbor in whatever you do here. But in a home, just about any topic works as long as it's not a nuisance. Now, this is where I'm going to give you the different levels that you can use your home. Some retreats are held at a hotel, and then people just visit the home of the leader for a picnic or a catered dinner or barbecue or something. I was just one in Charlotte, I think in South Carolina, where Adam Whitty, the publisher, we had a meeting at a hotel, and then we went to his house for a big barbecue. So that's one way to use your home when you're just tippy-toeing into it. Now, another one would be simple daytime use where people would then go and stay at a hotel. So you're only using it during the day and people aren't sleeping there. Next level would be nighttime use where people actually stay there. Now, very few people do this. I'm the only one in the world that I know of at my level doing this in the internet marketing arena. I'm certainly not the only one in the world in other arenas, but I was the first for sure in the internet marketing arena. I started this place 7 years ago. We've done probably 80-some events here, weekend retreats. That's pretty much immersion there. Now, the next level is even higher level, and that's like a complete weekend rental. And some of you are saying, well, I'd never let anybody have the run of my home. Well, that's okay, because some people would. And this is very common around sporting arenas, racetracks like NASCAR. And I remember back in WVU, West Virginia University, when I played football there, that people would rent their homes near the stadium for the weekend, and they just disappear, go out of town, or if they weren't going to the game, and make a fortune renting their home out. Of course, you have to be very careful with that, but still, it can be a lot of money, and you don't even have to be there. So that's a big immersion way to use your home. Now, the way I got the house I'm in is I was looking for about 6 months till I found this house, and it was owned by a retired cosmetic surgeon and his wife, and all their kids were grown and gone, all their children were grown and gone, and this is way too much house. I mean, this is a big estate, and they had nobody to help them take care of it. They were older and wanted to just go have fun, and so, boom, I zoomed right in because it had all the amenities here already. It had the pool and the tennis court and everything in place for me. So I took it, but I got it because they were ready to get out. Now, it's possible I could have rented it for a few weekends. I don't know, but you could find those kinds of deals possibly, or use your own house that's too big and just rent the whole thing out. Put your valuables in a safe somewhere and let somebody else run the retreats. Okay, next venue. We'll talk about more about home stuff later and actual operations. But next venue is hotel. Now, see, any kind of topic, again, that's not a nuisance would fly in a hotel. And I got to tell you this one thing. When I lived in New Carrollton, Maryland, right on the Beltway outside of Washington, D.C., I rented a hotel to have my butt camp seminar, where you learn how to make money sitting on your butt. And I had to go down the day before to check something out, see the room and talk to the sales manager. So I go down there, and there's a bunch of people in the parking lot with leather suits on. And I'm thinking, oh, it must be a bikers convention or something. They look kind of professional people. They weren't all scraggly, but they were all in leather. So I'm just standing in the hallway waiting for the sales manager to get back from lunch. And I see this guy walking down the hall with a dog collar on, with his girlfriend behind him with a leash on. And this is totally true. I'm like, doing a double take. This was an S&M retreat. and I was begging. I was on my knees begging the sales manager to please give me one of their programs, because I was wondering what kind of breakout sessions they were having at this event, So she wouldn't do it. But anyway, you can see there's even off-the-wall things like that can make money. And this place was packed full of people. I'm talking about a whole hotel. So you could do about anything you want there. Now, anytime you do anything except a local event, you have to address sleeping arrangements. So if it's not your house, we're talking about hotels right now, you can either book the rooms yourself, which would be a little more risky to guarantee so many rooms, but it'd be more lucrative because you can charge a premium and you make the difference. So if you negotiate $110 for the room and you charge each person $150, then that's $40 extra you made on the room. But you have to make all the arrangements, and it's your credit card that's on the line. So a less risky way is you just negotiate the best rates you can, and then people pay themselves. So that's the way most people do it. And then try to avoid cruise ships for this kind of thing, because cruise ships demand payment for the room so far in advance, it's massively risky for you. So unless you're really well-heeled and have an absolute surety that you can sell all the rooms, I would say avoid cruise ships in the beginning. Now, another specialized kind of place is a spa. It could be a spa hotel, or it could be just a spa that's separate and has some arrangement with a local hotel to put people up. And these are kinds of places, that have hot springs and massages and hot rocks, all that kind of stuff. I don't know, they put potatoes in your nose to make you look younger or something. I don't know I've never personally been to one of these places, but you see them on TV. Sometimes they have sleeping arrangements. Again, sometimes they don't. But I can assure you that all of these places have made major investments, and especially now, they'll be making deals. If you can bring them regular business for 5, 10, 15, 20 people a month, they're going to be bending over backwards to cater to you. Okay, now another venue would be outdoors, or sometimes I call them combo outdoors, which means, let's say you were a hiking or biking enthusiast. Well, you have public hiking and biking trails that you can get familiar with and then take your group there. And it costs you nothing. There's no rental. They're all public. And then, of course, you can do the same deal renting a hotel, or if it's a more rustic one, you can camp out. This way you don't have to actually rent anything and put any kind of money on the line to make this happen. Another possibility would be lease or rent a farm. We all know that farmers are having a tough time. So you could, let's say you were teaching mountaineering skills or primitive skills, starting fire, survival skills. That was your thing. Well, rent a farm somewhere. Make a deal with the farmer. Split the revenue. Anything like that will work. Target shooting. This is something I've taken up recently. Where I came from, you were carrying a gun when you were 8 years old. Everybody was hunting and everything. So I kind of have a liking for guns. If you were into that, any of these ranges would rent themselves out to you. If you're coming with regular business, they're going to be bending over backwards to take care of you. We have both indoor and outdoor shooting ranges. Bird watching is another thing. It costs you nothing to do. You just go out in the wilderness. You get together, get like-minded people. How about photo safaris? If you're into photography, you could do a nature photo safari, or what about an architectural photo safari? Or what about a car show photo safari? Where you get together, you get the like-minded people together, you ramrod the thing, you go take your pictures, come home, discuss them, or come to the hotel or come to your house and discuss them. That's what makes it a retreat, actually, is the discussion afterwards, because anybody can go take pictures at a car show. So how about archery is another thing I mentioned earlier. What about spiritual stuff? Like Sedona, Arizona is well known for things called sweat lodges. And I kind of make a little fun of this because I can't imagine paying to go sweat somewhere when, I can walk across the street and break a sweat. I can sit here and break a sweat. They have meditation retreats, vortex tours. There's nothing stopping you from putting these things together. Rafting. Let's say you wanted to go whitewater rafting. Well, here's another way to do things. You hire a rafting service, but again, you're putting the whole deal together, and then you're going back to the hotel or the camp and discussing what you did and doing some training and critiquing and looking at photos of the trip and so forth. That's what makes it a retreat. All right, so that's just some of the ways you can do outdoor events. Now, the last one I call specialized venues. This would be, well, let's say you were into softball and you wanted to have a softball retreat. Well, you could either build a batting cage on your property, which wouldn't really cost all that much, or, there's probably, there's a place down the street from me, not 2 miles, that's batting cages that you can rent out. So, you can do most of the stuff talking about softball somewhere else, go rent the batting cage. Driving ranges and golf courses. You could put together something like that. make a deal with the local pro to come over to your house and discuss and teach people the proper grips. And what about putting a putting green in at your place and having a putting retreat? You know, these golf people are crazy. They'll do anything. So all of these things work. Paintball is a place where you can either rent out big paintball buildings, or I saw a portable paintball thing that you can rent probably about a month ago. I saw it set up on Virginia Beach Boulevard. Or you could set up one in a farm area, you know, have it more outdoors so you don't even have to rent anything. Climbing walls. A.B. Dick Company is like a sporting goods store. Right down here in Virginia Beach, they have this enormous climbing wall. You could put together a climbing retreat. Do you think A.B. Dick Company would be thrilled to death to have you bringing in 20 or 30 climbing interested people every month into their store? Absolutely. That's why they have it. It's an attraction, and you don't have to do anything to use it. See, it's already there. Anything horse related is, people just love horses. I mean, I'd go to a horse retreat if I didn't think I'd kill the horse by riding it. And then, we have had some horses' asses around this here, but that's a different story. So, people spend a lot of money with horses. You just drive around Virginia here, there's tons of horse places that would probably be dying to have you make some deal with them to teach basic horsemanship or dressage or stuff like that. So, here's an interesting one, that commercial kitchens. Let's say you had you were a chef or you're into cooking. A lot of good restaurants, their commercial kitchen lies idle in the daytime. And they'd be bending over backwards if you came in once a week or once a month and brought in 20 or 30 people to teach cooking techniques. It would be good PR for their restaurant, and the place is empty anyway, and they'd make some bucks off their kitchen as long as you promise to clean up. Now, here's an interesting one I saw in Craigslist a couple weeks ago. I've been looking for some office space, and I ran across this place. It was a school in Virginia Beach. It was either Virginia Beach or Norfolk area that was offering to rent out their gym in off times for classes, exercise classes, or basketball. So again, if you had a basketball clinic, boom, if you went around and looked, you can probably make a deal with some local venue or school system, as long as you got to really be careful with insurance and all that stuff, but everybody's scrambling for money. So those are specialized venues. See, I really want you to stretch your mind to see that this is entirely doable, even on a shoestring budget, because all of these, this isn't even a tenth of an idea, or 100th of the number of ideas that you could have just by going on the internet and looking at potential things that people are having retreats over. Here's some more ideas for you. You don't even have to rent some of these places. Art tours. I saw a lady on TV who takes people around to art galleries in like New York City and then goes and discusses with them the art, and they have, I don't know what they even talk about, but I'm sure art people have plenty to talk about. Same thing with history tours, history buffs, always debating over this and that. Get them together in one place, take them on a history tour of some historical, you don't have to go too far to find historical places, and even in your local neighborhood. Around here, we got battlefields and all kinds of stuff, see? Monument tours in D.C., that's another thing. And again, I use the word tour, but what I want you to think is the reason it's not just a plain tour, you're just not a tour guide, is that you all meet to discuss what you've seen, and you create a bonding experience for like-minded people, and that's what people will pay for. And they will pay a lot of money for those kinds of experiences. All right, let's look at some target audiences. 3 of them we'll look at. Big business, entrepreneurs, and individuals. Now, big business has retreats all the time. They have team building, strategic planning, budgeting. They have them to orientations for new executives, problem solving. They meet to set their annual goals and objectives and so forth. Well, you could be a facilitator. Facilitators get paid a lot of money, folks, and it's not a real hard job, because basically you're getting their agenda and getting them talking and interacting. That's why they call it a facilitator. You're just, moving things along, basically. So one thing you could do is pre-package these whole things, and you could probably do it cheaper than a big company could do it themselves and offer that. So that's, if you like to target and like to deal with big business. Now, I don't. I don't like big business. I'm a small business entrepreneur guy. So entrepreneur type retreats usually will have something to do with money making or wealth building, small business oriented topics, business building skills. A lot of stuff goes on in real estate. Some things you can do is some people get an RV together and take people around and show them foreclosure sales and teach them how to act at the foreclosure sale, or how to inspect a house that they're thinking about flipping. See, all of those things are potential for retreats where people would come back after what they've seen, and then there'd be classes and discussion on which are the best deals, those kinds of issues. So those are entrepreneurial type topics. Now, for individuals, if you just want to target the basic consumer, although an entrepreneur is one, this would be things that would cover just about anything. Any kind of hobby you can think of, and we're going to get into that in the next section. Lots of different spiritual aspects, and all you got to do, I'm going to give you a bunch of websites a little later, but, you look up spiritual retreats, you'll see, I kind of call them, because I'm not much of a spiritual guy, but they look bizarre to me. But they've been around for years and people like them, so it's not my place to rag on them. If people like them and they're willing to spend their money on it, hey, awesome. They might as well give it to you if you're into that too. So, individuals, you can just go about anything you want. And again, remember, you don't have to have that many people to make it financially successful. All right. Now let's talk about hobbies being tax deductible. Well, this is great. I love living in the United States. Some of you are not in the United States, but you're in other countries that like business. It's really great to be in business. See, and again, I'm not pretending to be CPA or an attorney or something, but I can tell you it's great. It's a great thing tax-wise to be in business in the United States, because there's so many breaks you can get totally legitimately. But let's talk about hobbies for a minute. Say, first of all, I'm a tennis nut. So I bought a house with a tennis court. And I bought a bunch of tennis rackets that the visitors can use. I bought a ball machine for like $1,700 that the visitors can use. I have to maintain the court. I got to buy new nets and, all that stuff. Well, I can tell you that no IRS agent is going to come in and slap me on the hand because I used the ball machine too. Okay? They're not going to do that. As long as you don't get outrageous, and as long as you are clearly in a money-making proposition, because one of the things the IRS does get you for is just being in a hobby and pretending you're a business. That doesn't fly, and it shouldn't. I really don't want to pay for your hobby, but if you're a legitimate business person making money with your hobby, there is not a darn thing wrong with that. Now, I suggest, like for instance, my tennis court's featured in the brochure for this place, and it's on the DVD for this place. And people pay $5,000 minimum to come here for a weekend. So the IRS would be hard pressed to say that, okay, that tennis court wasn't part of this overall package that people were paying this enormous amount of money to come to. Say, so again, you got to get the legal advice and the accounting advice, and you have to, I think my accountant uses what we call a percentage of use. So when he looks at the whole package, and don't quote me on this because he's great at this and I hate the bean counting stuff, but I don't fudge it and I don't try to get away with things, because legitimately I can get plenty of stuff that's good for me. So get with your accountant and get with your attorney and see, okay, if I charge this much a month for a weekend coming to this place, what percentage of the use could I take off of my taxes? And you might be pleasantly surprised that stuff that you were paying for, with getting no tax breaks whatsoever, in fact, you're paying with after-tax dollars, so you're paying really high dollars for this stuff, you can probably legitimately deduct. So get good advice on that. Now, here's just some of the things. Tennis is obvious, the one I just talked about. Golf, hunting, fishing, whitewater rafting, quilting, sewing, movies even. Just think if you were a movie buff and you got together with other like movie buffs, built a home theater through retreats where movie buffs from around the country would come in and you'd all watch a movie and then sit around and discuss it. All right. Now, the weirder things happen. All right, much weirder things happen than that. That makes you in business running, I don't know what you call those movie retreats. All right. But that's another way you can, if you love movies, you could do that. Cooking we mentioned about. Yoga, another good one. Martial arts, art appreciation, painting, photography, all of this stuff. Now, a lot of stuff out there that you can really enjoy for yourself and legitimately make it tax deductible and actually make money doing it. Now I'm such a tennis nut. I'm trying to up the ante on this a little bit because we're creating a DVD and I'm going to star in it. And I'm going to be the largest person ever to star in a tennis DVD. I'm about 320 pounds. All right. I know you're saying, but Tom, you look so young and virile, but I'm a big guy, but I'm pretty darn good at tennis and making the other guy run like crazy till he drops dead or I'm just standing there. And there's a lot of technique to this and there's a lot of angles, knowing how to play the angles of the court and knowing how to really run the other person to death. So I'm coming out with a DVD on this, which I'm probably going to go out to Vic Braden, one of my way old. I used to use his system and had one of his coaches back in the old days. I'll probably interview him to be on the DVD. Studio Tom here. Yes, I interviewed Vic Braden for the blog, and I think it was one of the last interviews he did before his passing. I did create the DVD, and you can see the website and sample tennis tips at fatsotennis.com. And if you know any tennis nuts in your family, get them this gift, either as a gag gift, which it is funny in some places, but it is very serious tennis tips. All right. So grab a copy of the DVD while you're there, fatsotennis.com. So all of this trip and everything out to his place is tax deductible legitimately because I will sell the DVD. All right. Let's go on to your home being tax deductible. Well, again, I'm going to be very careful what I say here, but I'm going to give you a resource where you don't have to be that careful. Sandy Botkin. Sandy, or Sanford is his real name, Botkin, Botkin, at the taxreductioninstitute.com. Now, I got to tell you, folks, there's a lot of these people out there that are kind of yo-yos trying to tell you how to save taxes and, play the IRS and not get audited, all this stuff. Well, there ain't nobody on the face of the earth more credible than this guy. He's a CPA. He's an attorney. He was one of 8 attorneys selected to train new attorneys in the IRS's corporate tax division. So he trained IRS agents. This guy, his course is so great. He throws parties, Christmas parties and stuff, but he places his books on little stands around the place and discusses them and totally legitimately tax deductible. All right. So, I know some people who their kids are models in their brochures, makes a whole rash of things tax deductible. So taxreductioninstitute.com will give you a lot of the insights that your regular CPA and a regular attorney who think or want to at least make you believe they know what they're doing. There's all levels of these. There's schmucko attorneys that don't know anything, and there's sharp ones. Same with CPAs. Doesn't mean that they're the sharpest tool in the shed just because they accidentally passed their CPA exam. But this guy is the top of the line. Even if you don't do retreats, you really need to learn about tax deductibility in your business. All right. Now, a lot of things that just get thrown in there. And again, it's on a percentage of use, but the food in this place, paper products, repairs, computers, insurance, appliances, vehicles, all of that stuff is legitimately tax deductible when you're using it to create income. So I can't harp on this enough is that stuff that you're paying for and get absolutely no credit for could be switched totally around if you take this idea to heart. Okay, now let's talk about some other amenities that you can have in your home if you pursued this idea. And first of all, you got to make a decision. Do I want a plush or a rustic retreat? And I got to tell you another story about a lady I met who has, her husband built her a dude ranch down in Texas. And they had some, in Texas, they got enormous acreage down there. And this lady had a dude ranch that would sleep 35 people. Now, from what I understand, I've never seen it, but this was a bunkhouse. All right, so this wasn't like individual rooms like I have. This was a bunkhouse. And she had executives would pay $5,000 a piece, or their companies would probably. She didn't even have to show up. They'd go down there to play dude ranch and have a retreat and, act like they're, Brokeback Mountain or something, which I never saw, by the way, but everybody laughs when you say it, so it must be funny. And she didn't even go. They bring their own facilitator. So she just created the venue. And they probably rented horses or something, so they'd have some horse poop to shovel or something while they're there. I don't know. But the thing is these things sell. So that's a rustic thing. Now mine is the other end of the spectrum. Mine is a plush, all the bed linens are the fancy, finest linen, and we have one bed in the room is hard and one soft, and we have backup everything, so if you're allergic to down, we have polyester to back up. So everything's covered here and the finest of everything. So that's a little different story. Or you can do anything in between. It's your choice. But here are some things that you can add to your retreat, legitimately make them tax deductible, and get a little of the excitement out of it yourself. Well, some retreats bring in a trainer, maybe in the mornings or evenings, or maybe a yoga instructor, a local one. And as part of your fee, you can have a yoga class in the morning. Some of them bring in a masseuse, and some of them don't pay them ahead of time. Some of them, the individual attendees pay if they want a massage. So you could easily arrange with a local masseuse that, hey, if they get 3 paid massages, you get yours free or something, so those deals are made every day. Pool, it cracks me up because I can't swim, and I got this pool that I do nothing but dump chemicals in. It looks nice, and everybody loves it, but I don't use it very much. But I got a pool. Now, I do use the tennis court. Now, the tennis court, I just love it, use it every day in the summer. We're probably going to put a putting green in we have a pond. That's another amenity that's very nice. If you like fish, you can have your own fish pond. Right next to it, we're going to put a putting green. I don't really care so much because I don't like golf, but, other people do. We have a workout room, which I tease people that when I show them the house tour, that, I keep that universal machine pristine for them. I don't use it and wear it out or anything, so it's nice for them. Sitting areas, we have beautiful landscape sitting areas with piped-in music on the outside of the house. All of these things, if you love landscaping, landscape lights we have, the house is so beautiful at night, all of that stuff can be included in these amenities we're talking about. Decks. We have 2 saunas. We have a built-in steam sauna, and we have an enormous 5 or 6 person infrared sauna in the house. We have an indoor hot tub. All of those things, again, everything that goes with them, tax deductible. I have 3 libraries. Now, if you love books, this is perfect because the libraries, of course, are for use by the people that visit here. And another little trick is for you to start your own publishing company. This makes quite a bit of your book purchases tax deductible for research. And, most of mine are on internet marketing or some kind of marketing or copywriting or something anyway. But the thing is it's for the use. It's one of the amenities for my visitors that pay a lot of money to come here. Let's see. I don't have a bowling alley, but some houses have a bowling alley in them. Let's see. Tanning beds. If your works, let's take it down. Let's take it way down. So let's say you're just a person who loves woodworking and your house isn't fancy, but you built a really great wood shop because you just love woodworking, but you paid through the nose for it. Well, you're going to have a woodworking retreat. You're going to have people that love woodworking. You're going to have them come into your shop, which now makes all your stuff business property instead of personal property. Now, again, remember, you got to attempt to make money with this stuff, or you don't want to be deemed as a hobby. Of course, we have limo service and high-speed internet on the whole outside property and inside. So those are just some of the amenities, and if there's other things you like let's say you want to do the cooking, but you don't want to do a commercial kitchen. Well, you got to have a really nice kitchen, and most ladies and, some guys don't, most guys don't care too much, but it's kind of a lady thing. They love their kitchens. Well, you get the best kitchen you can possibly get and let other people pay for it by having cooking lessons in there. Okay, now some necessities if you do this out of your house. You got to have a backup power generator. You really are going to be crying big froggy tears the first time the power goes out as soon as somebody sets foot in your house. All right, so we have a backup power generator. It runs my entire office and selected parts of the rest of the house. The house is way too big. I'd have to have like a train-sized one out there to run the whole property, but enough to keep the cooking and the refrigeration going and my office and computers going and lights and TVs around the place. Another thing, you better watch this, is you got to make sure you have enough hot water. So we have 2 oversized hot water tanks in the house to handle the demand of sometimes 10, 12 people in the house. So hot water is important. You should have a guest computer because some people want to get online, and you just do not want people borrowing your main computer, especially for me. This is my lifeblood of the operation. I don't want people messing with my computer. So we have a guest computer all hooked up, ready to go for them. You need a lot of refrigerator freezer space. That's relatively cheap. Some of the backups can be put out in your barn or your garage or something. You need a good dishwasher. You need plenty of ice capacity. And there's 2 other things you might not have thought of. If you have a home, or you're considering, if your picturesque home is like one of these gorgeous show places with white carpet and white upholstery and the beautiful living rooms and all that stuff, you better think twice about this because people will just not take care of your stuff like you will. Now, you can make stuff, it's just a little funny. You could lock off those areas, but, if people are paying a lot of money to come into a fancy place and you won't let them in to sit in the fancy place, then it's going to look funny. So I know I had these bar stools at the breakfast nook, and they were so coffee stained it looked like somebody pooped themselves all over the place, and and so we just went and reupholstered them dark green to match the lower walls that were all green, because now it doesn't show so bad. Of course, you've got to redo it and clean them all the time, but still, you can't keep white stuff clean. And if people don't take care of your stuff, you can't bitch them out at the after they paid you a lot of money. Other thing is we put electronic door locks on here so that we wouldn't. Now they do have key backup, but we used electronic push button because I wanted the house is somewhat traditional, but I wanted a mixture of high tech internet and traditional home to show that the 2 can mix. But one of the real reasons is I put electronic push button combination locks is because that way I don't have to worry about people losing keys all day long. Now if the batteries die in these things, I have keys in the safe to back it up and open the door. But they're about $100 a piece. And if you have people staying in the house, it gives them a little sense of security that they have their own little section of the house. To be honest with you, in all these years, I don't think people even use them that much, because it's pretty nice atmosphere around here. All right, let's talk about liability. Well, you got to have a good visitor's agreement written by an attorney. I just signed one at this place and it said at least 3 times that there is no way on earth that I will sue the company I'm dealing with. Very tough visitor's agreement. If you want to see an example one, go skydiving or bungee jumping because they're gonna sign your life away. They're gonna tell you could die here, and it's your problem. So have a good, solid visitor's agreement. Doesn't mean you don't get out the liability if you have some gross misconduct that harms somebody, but it's one leg to stand on. Also, you got to have good business insurance. Get your business insurance advisor to tell you how much they think you should have for this kind of thing. Now, one thing we're very clear about in our agreements is we're not a bed and breakfast. If you were a bed and breakfast, you'd fall under a different set of rules. In fact, we do not charge to actually stay here in the house. We're charging for the training, and you just get to stay here as my guest. And along with that is I can kick you out on your rear if I don't like you. So it's a good thing to not charge for staying at a place, because you'd have to have sprinkler systems and alarm systems, fire equipment that a normal home just wouldn't have. So we're clear that we're not a bed and breakfast. We're also clear, and this is in the paperwork, that we have these questionnaires that we send to people ahead of time, and we're very clear about that we're not up to speed with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, the lady I mentioned before we got started, Nancy Sugart, was here with her seeing eye dog, and she got around pretty good, and we've had wheelchair folks here where we built a ramp up the front steps, and I have some portable ramps for the inside. But even those people, I told them, listen, I don't have all the big handles on the toilets and all the things you need, so you need to be very clear about that up front with people, because you could have a real bad situation if somebody killed themselves to get up to your place in a wheelchair, which is not easy to do. I've seen how some of those folks have to travel, and then you can't accommodate them. So make sure it's all clear ahead of time. Be very careful with alcohol. We don't serve alcohol here. We allow it. You can bring it and share it with people, but we won't touch it. You can grab our glassware, but none of the employees here will touch it and serve it. I won't serve it. Have nothing to do with it. When I take people out to dinner, right at the front, I tell everybody I pay for everything except alcohol. Alcohol's on your own tab. Not because I'm any kind of teetotaler, although I haven't seen much good come from alcohol after running a nightclub for 6 years and being in gunfights and knife fights. So I've been around a little bit. But it's just too much of a liability for you. So this would help you if someone had some accident, alcohol related, that you clearly had nothing to do with it. Be careful if you're doing any kind of adventure stuff, if anything with guns or archery or bungee jumping or any of that stuff, or even race cars or go-karts, anything that somebody could be really hurt, make sure it's very tough language in your visitor's agreement that they have taken the liability off you and they understand they could get hurt, and it's not your fault. Be careful with transportation also. Only use van companies or limo companies that are insured and licensed. So, because there's a lot of people that just buy a limo and aren't really licensed to even drive it, let alone have the proper insurance. So be careful with all that stuff. And again, you get your attorneys and business advisors to tell you about that. Now, don't forget, at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can get this call retroactively free. Now, the most interesting one I ran across, and this is another really nifty idea, if you happen to own some property that you want to develop. It's called Enota, ENOTA.org, Enota.org. This is a work exchange tent and RV community. It's Enota, ENOTA.org. And this is very cool. You can go there and stay for free if you're willing to work so many hours a week working on the place. And I think where you get to stay is in a tent, right? Which you have to bring yourself, by the way. And they value the stay at this place at $600 to $900 a week, depending on whether you stay in a tent or it's also an RV community. And then if you're willing to work extra, you get credits towards meals. It's a very intricate system of points and stuff going on there. I didn't have time to look at the whole thing, but I'm thinking this would be a beautiful way to get free labor if you had, a more rustic place that you want to develop, but you couldn't afford just to go get contractors. Turn it into a work exchange community. So I thought that was an awesome idea in a very specific way if you wanted to develop a property. Now, another one is retreatfinder.com. This would be another place to list your retreat, retreatfinder.com. And one more is allaboutretreats.com, allaboutretreats.com. Okay, now let's get into some operations. If you're going to have people in your house, whether it's overnight or not, a lot of these things are going to be very important for you to pay attention to. And I want you to do as much as possible of setting boundaries. That's the first thing. And do it in your pre-retreat paperwork, which we have people sign a visitor's questionnaire, and a visitor's agreement, 2 separate documents just to come to this house. And a lot of this stuff is covered there because I don't want them to get here and me have to be the bad guy and give them, say, no, don't do that, don't do that. I want them to know ahead of time. First thing is arrival and departure times. When you come to the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center, you cannot arrive before 3 p.m. on Thursday. And you must stick to this because people will want to say, well, my plane got in early. I just thought I'd stop over, and it's like 11 a.m. And that's 4 hours that we weren't prepared to. We're trying desperately to make this a perfect experience, and you'll be scrambling at the last minute to make everything perfect, and now you've got somebody you've got to babysit for 4 hours. And I don't mean to be harsh about it, but the deal was 3 p.m. arrival or later so that we could get our work done here. So set your boundaries. Also, departure time for us is 10 a.m. Monday morning. I'm really sorry if your flight's not till 5. Go around, check out Virginia Beach. There's all kinds of great things to see here, but you have to set good boundaries there. Another one is if my door is closed, don't come in. I tell them up front, I'm not available 24/7 because I have to run a multi-million-dollar business in the midst of training them. So they don't have to expect you to be available 24/7, but they will expect anything on their own if you don't tell them what to expect. Okay, areas of my house that are off limits. And I used to show the master suite, which the whole top of this house is a gorgeous master suite. But if you're going to show it, it needs to be like, Better Home and Gardens is coming. And it got to be such a massive burden to get it pristine because, I don't know, some of you have seen my desk. I'm not the most pristine guy around, so it was killing Kay to keep the place perfect. So we just shut off the master suite and decided, you know what, there's got to be some extra boundaries here so that we don't go crazy doing this. We don't allow people to stay here and skip outings. Like when we go out to dinner, you can't say, oh, you know what, I'd prefer to stay here and read. No, you can't. It says it in your agreement. You're coming. And I've had some words with people about that, but they don't mess with me too much because I just say no. It's like back in the old bar days. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right, no one is in my office without me or my staff in here. I've got really millions and millions of dollars of credit card information and orders and all kinds of stuff that we just don't want anybody, it's not like we have a security guard here with a machine gun. So if I'm not in the office or a staff member's not here, nobody's in my office by themselves. Nobody uses my computer. I mentioned that. You should tell them about the use of phones. We try to keep a pretty strict time schedule here. Someone isn't sitting in their seat when I'm ready to start talking on an agreed upon time, I start anyway. And they kind of get the idea pretty quick that I'm not going to mess around. Now, that doesn't seem leisurely and retreat-like, but it can get out of hand if you let people, nothing will ever get done if you just let them, show up whatever time they want. One rule we have is no food in the libraries. No smoking. We have a designated smoking area outside. Again, I told you about alcohol. We won't serve it. We provide a tentative schedule and a welcome packet. So they have a real nice folder with Antion Associates on it, and it's got all kinds of stuff in there for them and menus for what they want to eat and all that kind of stuff. We try to personalize it as much as possible, and you will too, depending on the price of your event. Especially if you brag about it being small groups, well, that kind of goes to say that you ought to give people what they want if they're coming in a small group. So we use questionnaires. We also get all their phone numbers, flight information, emergency contacts, everything, so that when they're on their way here, we can know where they're at. You need to be prepared with a first aid kit, all the generic sickness medications you can stock, unless, of course, you're promoting some kind of detox or holistic alternative method of healing. You don't want to stick them with a bunch of stuff off the shelf from Walgreens because it, wouldn't be congruent with what you're teaching. One of the main things is find out as many potential problem areas as you can before they get there. For instance, if someone, we're just a regular meat and potatoes kind of place. If someone is vegan and you're 200 miles from the nearest health food store, you might have an uncomfortable visitor or some enormous expense to take care of them. So it's better to know in advance and discuss it with them. And We've had plenty of people bring their own food, and they're just totally cool about it. But if they surprised us, it would be uncomfortable for us because we really want to take care of them. But if we don't know about it ahead of time, then we're scrambling and everybody's in a tizzy because we're trying to do a good job, but it's sometimes impossible. And speaking of food, if you're close to a grocery store, be conservative on your purchases. We had to really clamp down on people a little here because they would say all these things that they just had to have to survive. And we went around and bought all of them, and then they didn't even open half of them, and they went to waste. So that can cost you a lot of extra money. So take what they say with a grain of salt, and then be prepared to run and refill stuff if they really are using it. But for the first couple years, we were just totally wasting enormous amounts of food. We have both down-filled and polyester bed linens in case somebody's allergic to down. We have an extra futon available if somebody doesn't like one of the beds. Or we have this specialized geek room that's got a bunk bed, and if somebody doesn't want to climb up in the bunk, then we give them the futon. Now, you're going to know that somebody's going to be too cold, too hot. You're going to need fans, extra blankets, things like that. This is a cool one, makeup remover. The first year, we were losing towels like crazy because people were wiping their makeup off with the beautiful white towels we have. And, I don't know much about this, but I'm hearing it from Kay and everybody else that, hey, the towels are ruined. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but the older the lady is, I think they put their makeup on with like a concrete trowel or something. It's like 3 inches thick, and it totally ruins. There's just no way to fix the towels. So we started ordering makeup remover, and we make a big deal of it when people come and they get settled in their room, pointing it out and like sticking it in their face and scraping their face. No, we don't do that, but it really, you could eat up a lot of money in towels with people thinking they're at a hotel and using because the hotel uses super harsh chemicals to clean, and they can fix it, but we can't. Transportation, make sure, we use limos, but in a lot of places more rustic, you'll just simply hire a van service, or if it's a very small group, you'll pick them up yourself, or, in some kind of Chevy Suburban or some type of van. Now, animal concerns, like we have Bichon Frise dogs, which is about as hypoallergenic as you can get, but before that we had a Sheltie, and we couldn't have the dog here. It couldn't stay here at all because of people being allergic to dander and animal hair. So something you have to decide ahead of time. Am I going to have my pets, or am I going to have certain kinds of pets, or am I going to not let people come here that are allergic? I mean, you really run into those things. Studio Tom here, and I'm sorry to say that all the Bichons are in doggy heaven, and my beloved Rubix, the German Shepherd protection dog, is with them. I started a protection dog company and have 2 German Shepherds living with me, and we changed the retreat center rules and notices to people that there are dogs now living in the house. And of course, we don't allow the dogs anywhere near the guest rooms, and I don't generally let the guests meet the dogs unless they beg me, and then it's in a very controlled setting. It's not a good idea to have your protection dog think that everybody in the house is friendly. Then they'll be less likely to protect you in the house. Now, if you've ever considered a protection dog, prices start at about $20,000, and you can check it out at protectiondogselite.com, protectiondogselite.com. We got pool regulations. We use plastic. We bought a whole set of plastic tumblers for drinking out at the pool, same as any place that has a pool. We got hot tub and sauna regulations so that people use them properly and don't get themselves sick, because there's not like we got a lifeguard on duty every 2 seconds, so we don't want somebody passing out unless not knowing about it. Give them some breathing time, but not too much time. I mean, they came for an experience. Now, if it was supposed to be a meditation retreat, well, that's a little easier to do, but mine is pretty fast-paced. I keep them really hopping, and they get a lot done while they're here. Other things you can do is put displays of other visitors' work. Like in my case, people make a lot of information products, so we have a big display of that. You need a meeting area large enough for all the guests to be comfortable. We have several of them, and there's a lady that emailed me a picture of her house earlier today. Her name is Jean d'Orleans, and she just emailed me because she said, "Oh, you just described my living room. It must have been real white carpet and stuff." Sorry, Gene, if you want to keep it nice, you might have to dye it dark. Another real important thing is a house tour, and the house tour isn't nearly as important as revealing yourself. If people are coming because you're the big shot and they really came because of you, then, my house tour is about 45 minutes, but going around the house doesn't take that long, but it's telling them stories about the pictures of my dad and my mother and the awards I won when I was a kid and all the stuff my dad had to go through to get here and how crazy my mom is, and and they're just laughing and crying and having a good time learning about me as a person. So be ready to reveal yourself in one of these situations, and it'll make a much more unique experience for them, because you're probably a big shot to the people that are going to come in many cases. And so you letting your guard down and showing them how funny you looked when you were a kid or something like that can really make a great bonding experience, and they'll be very loyal and sing your praises. Okay, and also, like I said, try to give them unique experiences or a series of them. When people come here, we do video with them. We teach them YouTube techniques. I give them some media training on how to look good on video. I let them edit audio to show them how easy it would be to make their own products. They watch our video editor work. They can get Nikki to give them a lesson on Camtasia. Colin will give them a social networking lesson. So it's very experience oriented. And remember, that's what people pay for, is experience. And while you got them there, take video and get testimonials. You can get video testimonials and also testimonial at greatinternetmarketing.com/retreattestimonials.htm. I know that one's a mouthful. greatinternetmarketing.com/retreattestimonials.htm, because those will help you sell future visits to your retreat. And then we have an extremely strict refund and cancellation policy. If you book here and sign the visitor's agreement, there's, I think, a $1,000 or $2,000 penalty if you cancel. I mean, you pretty much have to be dead before you get out of this, because this is a small group setting, most exclusive place on the earth that you can come to for this type of training. So we can't fool with you if you just decide, I can't make it this weekend, I don't feel like it. No. Well, you're going to pay for it. So you need to have some type of very strict policy. Now, the more people you have, the less strict you need to be, although that can hurt you, bite you, because you'll have just more people blowing you off at the last minute. But you have to address this issue some way, or it'll always be chaos of when somebody's coming, and if they cancel out the last minute, now you have a vacancy. Now, this isn't really a marketing seminar, but just a little bit about getting people to attend your retreats. Well, when you signed up for this, if you signed up online, you saw me offer a particular upsell, which I picked specifically for this event, is how to start a profitable mentor program, how to start and operate a profitable mentor program. Because if you can have a mentor coaching program and just raise the fee enough to cover the visit, it's much easier to fill the retreat up. That's why we're booked months in advance usually. I don't even pick the dates months too far in advance, because I can't miss big speaking engagements over it. So I only pick a couple months in advance, but we're always sold out. Studio Tom here, and if you listen this far, you're obviously interested in this topic. Now, many of you know I have probably the longest running, most successful mentor program in the field of internet marketing. I'm pretty darn sure it is. It started around 1997, and it's still running today. How many years is that? 23 years later. And I've learned a lot over those many years in dealing with 1,700 mentees, and I'm revealing it all in a 4-webinar series. Now, over the years I've been doing this, I've earned many millions of dollars and helped my students to do the same. And I want to help you start and run your own mentor program without making all the mistakes I did. I can tell you, without knowing what I know about this, starting this on your own is going to be very, very costly for you. All right, you're going to buy stuff you shouldn't have bought. You're going to not buy stuff you should have bought. You're going to overpay for things because you don't know where to buy. You're going to spend way more than this course costs. So what I teach you will help you make a ton of money and save you a ton of money because you won't make all those major and extremely expensive mistakes that I did. So you're going to get 4 extremely comprehensive webinar sessions that you can watch over and over again. Part 1 is what to prepare before you start. That's 2 hours and 4 minutes. Part 2, the paperwork and the money, how all that works. That's 1 hour and 39 minutes. Part 3 is running the program. That's 2 hours and 8 minutes. And part 4 is marketing your program. That's 1 hour and 49 minutes. So it's over 7 hours and 40 minutes of high-level training, and I throw in a couple consultations to help you out. So check that out at screwthecommute.com/mentor training. Screwthecommute.com/mentor training. And don't bother to do it if you're not serious, because this is highly proprietary material. Once you're exposed to the material, you got the value. So in most things I give refunds. In this program, no, I do not. And I've got a massive track record to prove that I give high value, but don't do this unless you're serious. All right, let's get back to the old time machine. So if you have a mentor program, and if you want that, if you didn't get that CD and you want it, just email me after the event, and I'll give you the same deal and just add it to your order. It's just $5, but I mean, it's the details of how I've run this mentor program with we've had over 700 attendees at $5,000 a piece, minimum. All right, Studio Tom here. We've now had more than 1,700 students. All right, so you can see this. You can crank some bucks from having a mentor program. List yourself in directories, joint venture with other people that have impressive homes and lists of people so that they promote your event for commission. Of course, you can advertise always. And one important piece to this whole thing is to get yourself a brochure and a DVD video of your place. And this can be done very cheaply. You know, we have, and I want you to go look at mine. The video of this place can be seen at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. You can watch it online. It's a half-hour production about this place. And you can download the learning brochure about this. So this really sets you apart. And we have physical versions of both. So we'll be happy to send you the physical brochure and the DVD. And it just sets us so far apart than all of these internet schmucks out there that are, barely making their payment in their apartment, but telling you how many, how rich they are. In fact, we just kicked somebody out of the program that was putting false testimonials up and claiming to be this big joint venture expert, and the little twerp has to move every 6 months because, I think he gets kicked out of his apartment and can't pay his rent. So, this is not what you're about, and but there are a lot of those people out there that you may be competing with. So, having these kinds of materials sets you far above them because they're never going to have the money or they're too cheap to promote themselves properly. So a brochure and a half-hour production about your place. And everything I do just about I find to people on Craigslist. So you find wonderful video people on there, really inexpensively, $15 an hour we pay for video. And we have some of the finest videos of anybody that does what I do. Probably, better than all of them, I would say. Okay, so other sources of revenue. Well, Kay, my girlfriend, is a jewelry designer, so we have a big, beautiful display, and people buy her necklaces when they're here. And it's a much better place to sell than trying to be at a store or some craft fair or something, because it's expensive stuff. Nobody wants to go to a high-end place like this and come home bragging about how they bought, a necklace out of a bubblegum machine. So she gets a good money for her necklaces, so you can sell that. Some people just like a bed and breakfast, although you aren't a bed and breakfast, sell antiques. They sell paintings. You could sell specialized equipment or make it part of the entry fee. Included in your trip to the retreat center, you get X. And then that would be whatever specialized equipment they needed. I mean, some people have loaded laptops up already with software and given them the whole laptop as part of the fee, things like that. You can sell private coaching and mentoring. If people are just coming to your retreat, then you can upsell them to further time with you or higher level programs with you. Okay, so that's pretty much some of the stuff that I have. I hope it gave you tons of ideas. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed my little time machine there. Let's jump out of it back to reality here and seriously check out my How to Start and Run a Mentor Program webinar series at screwthecommute.com/mentor training. Of course, that's in the show notes for episode 232, I think this is. Let me check my notes. Yepper, it's episode 232. So it's screwthecommute.com/232. And let me know when you start a retreat. I can't wait to hear how it goes. All right, we'll catch everybody on the next episode. See you later.